Hi, my name is Celeste Simone, Mrs. Simone to most of you. We are out here at STEM Island, and I have a very special guest today. I have author Scott Miller, who has taken STEM and put it into words for all kids to enjoy. So, Mr. Miller, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe your family and your job, if it's beyond being an author?
So, I'm author of this book, which is why I showed up today. It's called Hacker Class. And Hacker Class is the story of a sixth grader taking her first STEM class who has an uncle who's kind of like a Mark Rober type character. And so Mark Rober, does, I'm sure most of you are familiar, but if not, he's a YouTuber who does all kinds of fun STEM activities and videos aimed at teaching kids and them getting to be excited about STEM. So by day, I'm a software engineer. And so I work at a medical devices company.
That's amazing. I am really excited. I've actually read the book, and I did give it to a student to read also, and 2 thumbs up on my part, 2 thumbs up on her part. As a STEM teacher, I really looked at it, especially because we're actually jumping into electrical engineering right now, and of course, circuits make a gigantic beginning for it, and so it was really fun.
These days, the publishing process has changed so much, at least from when you and I were growing up, such that you can do a tremendous amount of this yourself with minimal cost.
By yourself? Like you actually did this by yourself?
Google Docs is free, right? And that's the meat of it. So a lot of it you can do online. And the other key, which we'll get to in a second as I present on it, is that Amazon, if you go through them, has a portal to where you can upload your manuscript and upload your cover. And you hit literally a magic publish button that works. Okay. So this is the book on Amazon here, and as you can see, it looks like any other book, right? It's got this look inside thing to where you could click on the cover, and then also, I think this is worth clicking on. There's 2 versions of it. There's the paperback version, and then the Kindle version. And on the Kindle version, just like almost every other book you're used to, you can do a look inside thing, and it gives you the preview of the book. And that's a big beauty of Amazon, is that with one manuscript, you can get both the paperback and the Kindle. They take care of linking them together. They take care of creating the preview. They take care of, the ratings and the descriptions. This is all input into their system, and then they suck all of it together. They advertise it with the price and all that.
This is I buy books all the time, and it really is. And I love a good story, but I also love to read informationals and things that I can learn about. And what I discovered was your talent in writing blended the 2 together. I learned a lot while I was reading, but I didn't feel like it was a boring, dry bit of informational text. What I got was this story where I was learning about the things that you were portraying, but then I also had characters, there were friends, there were bad things that happened. I'm not going to give it away, but there were
sometimes, it took me a total of 1.5 years to write this book to get it from cradle to adulthood on Amazon. And there were some months that I was like, I should do this.
and that was actually one of the big questions that I had, because, every time you start any project, especially one that's new and you've never done before, I have discovered personally that there are pitfalls, and there are times that you want to give up, or there are times that you don't know if you can follow through. And so as you're going through this process, having that in the back of our mind that you now have a book on Amazon, but there were pitfalls, there were struggles, and there were times when you didn't know if you would be able to accomplish, right?
Absolutely. There was a time I was going through the drafting process of just the first few chapters, to see if people would like this idea. And so I circulated it around, as anybody would, with some friends and family. I got responses all over the place. I had friends that were like, "Oh yeah, I could see that. Cool." They're like, okay, well, that's all they said.
But you wanted
Right.
more, right?
Right. And then I had some people that gave like really detailed feedback, and they're like, this is working, this is not. I had a wonderful friend that she was in library science as a major, and so she loves, the reading and books, and she gave me a lot of great feedback. She was one of my primary editors at the beginning. She gave me very good detailed feedback. But then also on the opposite side, I also had one friend that he's like, Scott, couldn't get through the first chapter. I'm sorry. He said, if you want my honest feedback, I said, yes, I do. I said, what wasn't working for you? And for him, I think he was wanting more like, like in fantasy books to where they kind of slowly bring about characters. And it's more, more mystery, which I was not great at writing.
Yeah.
I was a little more matter of fact and to the point. But I think there was enough people that said, maybe this is a good idea. Yeah, I could see that I said, you know what? I'm going to resign myself. There's going to be some people that just do not like this book, and that's fine. And there may be some people that really like it. And a lot of people will probably be in the middle, right? To where it's like, it's good.
Well, it definitely appeals to me as a STEM teacher, and I know
Right.
it would appeal to the kids that are in my class because they're in a STEM class and they love this different type of educational experience.
Right.
So, when we go through this process, I really want them to know, that this can be done.
Yep.
And so if you could walk us through this process of, where you went to, how you did it, and whatnot, that I think would be really
First
beneficial.
things I learned about is this thing. It's Kindle Direct Publishing. It's a service that Amazon offers, and it's for anybody that has an Amazon account, which is free. So I logged into the Kindle Direct Publishing, and they have this thing, bookshelf. So I'm in my bookshelf right now, and you literally click create. And you want to
No
make
way.
a new book, right? So you click create, and then it brings up a form that you fill out, and I'm actually going to go ahead and open the form for Hacker Class here. And so I filled this out, probably starting about a year ago, but it's matured as I went. You would enter the title, the subtitle, the author, description, the thing that it shows, publishing rights, keywords, and all that. And so you fill out all this information, and then the next step is that it offers you the place to upload your actual cover and your manuscript. So the manuscript is the text of the book, right?
So when the kids are writing in class, they're actually creating the synopsis. They're creating usually a mini essay or a quick write would be kind of that idea. Now, a manuscript would expand on that,
That's
where
right.
you're starting to go from, a multi-paragraph essay, doesn't matter what type of form of writing, but a multi-paragraph essay into an actual book,
Right.
which is a manuscript to begin with.
Right. And an easy way to start with that is it mentions this Kindle Create program. And so it says, you may not be able to read it from the screen, but it says, use Kindle Create to transform your manuscript into an ebook with professional book themes, images, and table of contents. So Kindle Create is what I used for my first book. In this case, I had uploaded a PDF that I generated from Adobe InDesign, but you could use the Kindle Create. And I'm going to show what that looks like here. And so Kindle Create is a program you can download, PC or Mac. You download it, install it, and then upon doing so, you end up with a program you open that you can give it, different fonts, and it takes care of the layout for you. You do the chapter. You can preview it as you would on an ebook, and just as it says here, this is, Amazon has taken this to such a different level, and at least I was used to growing up, such that a lot of this is in the control of the author now, which is why I think I was okay with doing this project.
Student or a family is very interested in getting this done, and they feel that investing in cover art would be a great idea. What option did you use that they might look into?
I eventually learned about, and other authors helped me find this. I found something like readsy.com. this up here.
Reedsy.
Right. Reedsy is a place for people that don't necessarily work for a big company, but want to create covers or edit or do something else with a book to help other authors, that they can advertise their work. And then ended up entering into a contract with one of them. That her name was Veronica Scott. She did an amazing job. She had done similar type covers. Veronica, the person I worked with, she sent me a variety of covers, and it was maybe just one of these characters, or maybe just her and the other main character, her friend that works with her through the class named Ethan in the book. One of them had like bigger planets and like a white lab coat, like I said. So I chose the one that I thought worked best for us. And I said, all right, Veronica, the person I was working with, I really like that one. She said, great. And I said, could you change the font to be a little bit bigger, maybe a little less stars or something like that?
So you actually still had control over what happened, even though you weren't the illustrator.
Oh, very much so.
So that,
yes.
I think, is going to be a really fun thing for kids and families to look at, is
right.
that process as well onto there.
And so you go through this cycles of editing, which is why it costs a few $100s, because that's taking their time
right,
to
of
do
course,
that.
Of course.
So I went through probably 4 or 5 edit cycles with her. But within doing that, she also created the back, which has the synopsis of the book. She has to have the place for the ISBN, the fancy number.
Right, yeah.
And then she's got a character that looks real nice here. The text wraps around her head, and you can see it's got a nice background with stars. And also, the other important part I didn't even think about until you get to the publishing process is called the spline, the side of the book. And it has to be the exact right width based on how thick your book is going to be. So there were a lot of little things to decide. And so it took a fair amount of her time, but I communicated with her all through this site, which was wonderful, because then I didn't have to get involved with a publisher, and I didn't have to take huge steps to make this a huge project. If this didn't go well, it didn't work out, and that's okay. It was, a few $100s, and I said, well, it was an experiment. In this case, it did work out.
It did,
but
right.
It was nice that I retained creative control. So, I ended up owning all of the rights to this. She signed all that over when she created it.
So this is it is your book.
Exactly.
It's not a publisher's book, it's your book. It belongs to you, and that is also important. I have a couple more questions for you, so let's head back over here. Number one question, I think that, we talked about these struggling ideas, we talked about publishing your book, we talked about all these different incredible experiences that you had, but you've also been inspired by others, right? You can't do this alone.
No, sure.
And it can be anything from just going to work or to doing the school that you need to be in the position of work that you have, but also to be brave enough to try to do something that, like if you said, oh, I just wrote a book, everybody thinks this is a difficult process, which it is, but what brought the inspiration? Who or what is driving you to do these different fun things?
My mom taught compassion and empathy very well.
So this idea of compassion and empathy is very big, especially with what everybody has gone through the past couple years. Compassion, how you feel toward others, and your understanding, along with empathy, similar kind of experience. Talk to me more about that, because that is one of the things in STEM that you can't miss. You have to have that for a lot of reasons.
And I think it was crucial to working with something like this book, because writing by definition is putting yourself in another person's shoes to create a story. And so having that compassion being taught to me as my mom, which she was very good at, allowed me to, what would it be like to? And the other big inspiration for me, and I think throughout a lot of my life, has been my dad, who was an electrical engineer. He just plays pickleball now. He's older, he's retired, but he used to be an electrical engineer for a long time, and he was always very good at helping myself and my siblings think that we can do something hard. Whether it's fix an air conditioner, whether it's work on the car, whether it's, we'll find stuff by the trash and be like, can you fix this? And so
that's amazing.
So we'll find stuff like that, and we would see him do it, and then you could do that. And so he would teach us how to do these things, and that inspired me. You may even see a bumper sticker for it. It says, failure is not an option, right? And this was in the book.
Right.
My favorite movie growing up was Apollo 13. Loved that movie. And in that case, one of the quotes they said, and the flight director comes down and he's upset at one point because the men in space are in danger. And he said, failure is not an option. In a manned mission, makes perfect sense. No, failure is, you want to do like anything you can humanly possible to save those people. That was the goal of that movie.
Right.
So in that situation, it made a lot of sense. As I've gotten older, I realized that, failure actually very much is an option, and that's okay. Whether it's me attempting to write a book or whether trying to fix something at the house, if I break it, okay, maybe it'll be broken for a while, or, eventually I'll figure it out, or I'm trying to teach something to my kids and I realize that I really messed up in trying to how to teach them, right? Failure very much was an option with minor things. So it's not that I want or expect a lot of failure, but I almost have to be okay with, you know what, I'm going to do my absolute best, but if it doesn't turn out, fine, that's okay, and I'll move on to the next thing. That attitude gave me the freedom to forgive myself and to say, all right, that's okay, and I'll move on to the next thing. And that allowed me to get through the process of something like a book in this case. But even at work as a software engineer, things don't go right. I duplicated something that somebody else already created, or somebody found a major bug in what I created, which has happened multiple times now. Expecting that things aren't going to go perfect has allowed me to say, it happens.
It's actually better.
In the early stages, it's important to expect some failure.
Right.
In the late stages, like I do work on a medical device, and this medical device happens to have a laser on it. And so we have to make absolutely certain we are safe, but we also mitigate against that by knowing that we're human, and you design it with multiple fail-safes. The hope is that with all of those things chained together, you minimize the chance of failure. But in the early prototyping stages, it wouldn't have been reasonable to expect that we can always do that. So we just always make sure we have our own glasses on.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's just the early stages you should expect failure. The later stages you can try and minimize it. Sometimes life happens,
right,
but you try to minimize it.
So let's take this back into the book really quickly and look at your process where you went through this idea, I want to write a book. Yeah. I'm interested in this. I'm interested in that. What if I put them together? Okay, I'm going to try this out. I'm going to send it out to a few people. They're going to hurt my feelings, and I'm going to be okay with it because, failure is part of it. And then you move on from there, and you grow, and you research, and you find more things, and then you get into this idea of publishing each time better. And now you're here as a published author with a really cool book. And it, to me, I really wanted the kids to be able to see that this process not only is being done by you, but that it could be done by them. Right. So I'm just letting you know, you might have a little competition out there because I have heard some stories some of the kids have been telling me that they're interested in, and they're really good too. So a little friendly competition from some elementary school kids.
I think kids that have something to say, or they want to do something hard, or create something that they think makes the world a little bit better of a place, even if other people don't necessarily all agree with them.
Right.
The people that go ahead and do that, I think it's cool.
I think it's cool too. Okay, Hacker Class. Yep. Scott Miller, Hacker Class, a story of STEM inspiration. So awesome. You're amazing. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.